welcome back. It's Christine again with the Artist Pod, and today we're actually going to be doing some laser engraving again. We're going to be doing the Norton White Tile laser engraving method on it's just a ceramic white tile that you can get at Lowe's, and we're basically going to be engraving an image onto that. So let's get arting. Alright, so the Norton White Tile Method, it was invented by a gentleman named Nicky Norton. And what you do is you take a white tile that you can get at Lowe's for like 40 cents a pop. At least you could last year. I don't know how expensive they are now. So I usually stock up on them. You then clean it with acetone. Okay? So you take acetone, you take a microfiber cloth, and you clean the tile to get rid of any film or anything else on it. And then you paint, you use white spray paint and cover your white tile with the white paint. So specifically, it's paint that has titanium oxide, so like black paint. This wouldn't work. All you're doing there is burning off the paint. What this will do with the titanium oxide is burn the image in, right? So I know I was showing the tiger. So this has been already cleaned with acetone. So this image is permanently etched onto the tile. I don't have to do anything to seal it for fear of it washing off. I've already cleaned it with acetone, so the acetone can't wash it off. This is a permanent engraving that you can do with the white spray paint, right? So, you know, I have my little workspace out here, and you can see how I'll do it. So when you're spraying, you just want to make sure, right, that you're starting off, you know, just sort of off, and then you go across, so I don't start spraying directly on. Some people also say after you do one direction, you can do another. I don't, but one of the failings of this method, especially with a CO2 laser, is not having enough paint on the tile itself. So it's probably not a bad idea to do one direction and then another direction to make sure it's fully covered, because CO2 lasers are so much stronger. In fact, I thought for a while, I've been doing this, trying to make this happen for more than a year easily, and for a while I was thinking that maybe CO2 lasers were just too powerful. Nicky Norton, as he was doing it with a diode laser, which is not as powerful, but it is absolutely powerful, or it is absolutely possible with a CO2 laser, since I've been able to do it. So that's the gist of it. So then after you spray it, you let it dry. I like the fast drying. With the fast drying, yesterday I sprayed the tiles at 9:30 a.m. and by 5 p.m. they were dry, and I was able to start laser engraving on them, which is good because my mom's birthday is today, so I'm making a set of 4 coasters for her, which is how I intend to use these tiles, as coasters, and then I have a cork backing I'll put on the back of them that I got from Amazon. So yeah. Alright, so here's the image of the tiger. I've already imported it, I've already prepped it. So what I have found best so far that works with my system, so it will probably be different for yours. So mine is a 45 watt laser, is 500 DPI, power set to 43, and the speed set to 3. You could probably toggle the power 42, 43, 45 is too much. The other thing to consider, and I'm sure I've mentioned this in a different part of the video, is making sure that your tiles are nice and fully covered with the spray paint. If it's not any areas that have less, or they don't have quite enough, the laser will burn it off and then it'll fade out your image, so it won't actually sort of react to the paint, which is what you're doing. You want that titanium oxide to react to the light and to permanently engrave a black onto the white tiles. So if you have too much power, you burn off all the paint, and if you have too little power, you don't give it enough chance to burn into it to create the reaction. It's really your speed, though, is really what you need to adjust. Because it's used to diode lasers, you need to make sure that speed is really slow and dialed way back, so that it is slow enough to cause the reaction that you need. Then we're just going to hit run job. So it just stopped. So we're not done. Now I'm going to take it over and wash it. That often will make it pop. You can really see how that brings out a lot of the detail there. Got a little bit of banding, but nothing that I think is horrible. So that's after you wash it, which really helps bring in some of those details. And then the last step is to take acetone and clean the paint off. And then what you have left is a permanently engraved tile. All right, so you know, that's kind of the gist of it, right? You have the tiles. I done 4 of them, right? So we have several different ones, and they all came out great using that method. You can really kind of see how they're all kind of popping. A few things to note on reasons you can get banding. So banding is anytime you see kind of streaks across, and you see it even with the tiger, right? There's just a little bit of banding here. Get myself organized. Right, there's some banding going across here. There's actually just a little bit right under his eyes. It's pretty subtle. I've seen banding a lot worse than this when I've done tiles. And there's 3 reasons I've noticed that banding will be really bad, like ruin an engraving bad on using the Norton White Tile Method. The first is that you have too much power, right? With the CO2 laser, they're pretty powerful, and these were designed, as I mentioned earlier. It was done with Nicky Norton invented it with a diode laser, which isn't very powerful, but I have a 45-watt laser. It's a full Spectrum Muse Core 45-watt laser, so it's a pretty powerful laser. And it took me a long time to figure out exactly what the settings should be, so I did test tiles, among other things. And it's very easy to get too powerful with a CO2 laser because it washes the image out. You don't want full power. Even 45 power seems kind of strong, and it was. 45 was a little bit too much. So 43 power seemed to be a sweet spot, which means 42 and 44 would probably also work. 44 might be breaching onto the too powerful though, so 42 would probably still work as well. But if it's too powerful, it's kind of blasting through too much paint. The second reason I've noticed banding is laser alignment. It was really bad, and I hadn't checked my laser alignment in a while, and I did, and it was way off. So I tweaked that, realigned my laser, and just like that, most of the banding was gone. So your laser alignment, that's something to check on if you're getting banding. Not having enough paint, and that I can even show you here with the mountain lion I did, right? You know, this one has good paint coverage. This one, I don't know if you can see that very well, but the eye over here is all washed out. Because if you look at it like in the light, I can see that it didn't get as much coverage as this one. These both were done, you know, back to back of each other with the exact same settings, but this tile had better paint coverage than this one. So the results is significant in that this is a usable tile and the other one is a complete bust. So you can get some banding that way, or what looks like banding, when you're getting sort of splotches of dulled out areas. Something that, you know, as an artist that's important, and I've always talked about this in my drawing videos, are eyes. So if the eyes on an image are washed out, then it's not going to be any good, right? We, as humans, we look at eyes first. It's just what we do. And so the eyes need to pop, especially on this one with one eye working and one eye being very dull. It wouldn't work at all. But, you know, but this one is perfectly fine. Both eyes pop. and the blacks really kind of come out nicely. So those are kind of 3 reasons you can get banding. You can get banding for other reasons too, tension on the belts and things like that. I've never experienced that. I don't know how I would fix that if it happened. But I found that other sort of mitigation helped with eliminating banding. Honestly, with the Tiger, I probably had the power too high because it's a darker image, right? If you take a look at the Puma versus the Tiger, or the mountain lion, right? There's a lot less dark happening on this. So honestly, the Tiger probably has banding because it would have worked at 42 instead of 43 power. But speed 3 seemed to be a sweet spot. I didn't find speed 4 really working well. Or 5, you started getting too fast. So it slows down your printing by focusing on the image and not filling out, a background. These tiles each took about 30 minutes. The Tiger took the longest at 31 seconds, and the mountain lion was the quickest at 27 minutes. But that's, perfectly doable, especially when you're ending up with like a fully like engraved white tile that will work as a coaster once I put a backing on it. Another thing I forgot to mention is a lot of these tiles will come with a barcode embedded on the side from Lowe's. The acetone wipes the barcode off. So as you do it, just make sure you scrub the barcode when you're cleaning your tile. I usually do it at the beginning, that way at the end when I'm re-cleaning the tiles, if any of the barcode's left, I can take the acetone and once again wipe off the residual of the barcode that's there. So I hope that's helpful. For anyone who has a full Spectrum Muse, those would be the settings. Glowforge and some of the other brands would be different, right? You'd have to dial in your settings. I think what's important to note on how this method is working is you need it to go slow. So whatever setting is on your system that really slows it down, and you don't want too much power. So both of those are something to keep in mind. This works on systems that have very little power but move very slowly. And that's how it's working, is that titanium oxide is reacting to the laser light, or to the laser, because it reacts to light in general, the titanium oxide in the white paint. Now I know that on my spray paint I had gloss, and people use matte and say that gloss bounces back. And that's possible. When I was first doing it, I picked up the gloss, and I still have some because I picked up a lot. So I'm going to use that until it's out, and as you can see, it's working perfectly fine. Settings might need to be adjusted a little bit for matte. The other thing that I have learned when I did test tiles is if you're just doing a black box, especially with the Norton White Tile Method, it doesn't actually tell you what you need to know. That test tile was useless to me, and those settings didn't work. What I actually did was took a sampling of a different image, not the Tiger, but I took a sampling of just a strip of one of my drawings, because these are all my my digital art. I took a strip of that and I did a whole bunch of those on a test tile to see how they came out, and that's how I dialed it in. And then I can make small tweaks. I'll take a tile that I'm not fully intending on finishing and testing out just some small tweaks. So like 45 looked great on my test tile, but in reality it was too strong. And so taking those sort of smaller tweaks and going, okay, 45 is too strong, dialing it back to 43 and 42 and testing some of those minor tweaks to get it like really dialed in, I think really helps. So I hope that's helpful. I know when I started, and I mentioned it earlier, I really thought maybe a CO2 laser was too powerful. And it was hard to find any information about anybody who'd done it with a CO2 laser, with a lot of people expressing doubt that it could be done. And so I dragged my feet for a while. I haven't worked on this in a little bit. I needed to take a break from it because I was just sort of running my face into a brick wall and not coming up with any solution. So I really hope that this helps. It is absolutely possible with a CO2 laser. Just slow it down. And make sure that your paint, I use the Rustoleum Painter's Touch fast drying white. Although some have had luck with like slightly off-white colors, but it has to have titanium oxide in it or it won't work. And you can absolutely do it with a CO2 laser. So it is possible. You just have to find the right setting and just remember, slow it down and kick that power back down. So, Alright, so in the floating nether next to me I have other videos of art tutorials I have done, and I will see you all soon. Thank you so much. Take care.